are recording, and this is the meeting of the Master Plan Implementation Committee. It is Thursday, March 14th, starting the meeting at 7:02 p.m. And we'll take a quick roll call. Demuria here.
Stivers here.
Warren here.
Okay, so at the last meeting, Kat did indicate that she's getting very busy with her other projects and committees, etc., and that she would be resigning from the committee. I reached out to her during the interval, and she hasn't put in her resignation letter yet. She still does want to sort of be around for us if needed, even though she's not really going to be able to join us much, but she didn't want to leave us stranded. So just to confirm, I checked with town clerk about quorum, and indeed we have a quorum tonight. So I just want to see if there was any questions about that. I also do need to advertise for replacement for her.
Yeah.
So
I've been thinking about it, and
Yep.
I don't have any great ideas at this point. I was thinking about the folks who were involved in the larger committee previously, and I mean, nobody out of that group strikes me as being a prime candidate. I mean, those folks, many of them are very busy with other stuff, so I would be a little surprised if they were willing to take on a new responsibility. And so if you get somebody who wasn't involved in the earlier part, there's a really learning curve there for people. Yet that might be an interesting new viewpoint on the committee. So, but I haven't run across, and as I've been thinking about it, anybody who's I said, wow, that's a great candidate. So I'll keep thinking, but.
Okay. And Sam, does this mean we really shouldn't advertise yet because she hasn't put in a resignation, or can we advertise?
I'd advertise, certainly.
Okay.
I mean, no sense in delaying if she is going to resign. So let's move forward as we can.
Okay.
That would be
Yeah, and I
great.
think we talked about that, as well as maybe putting something in the newsletter or speaking to Vanessa. What would be the right start to this?
I guess one way to do it is to, again, talk to Vanessa about publicizing it through whatever channels she uses. She has, I think, Facebook account or something that she manages. I'd also maybe send a note to my Southborough, Beth Mello, and she periodically puts out a list of open committee positions. And maybe Vanessa is the one who triggers that. I'm not sure, but Vanessa could tell you how she does that.
Okay.
It would hurt to get it in my Southborough. And beyond that, I mean, again, you know, you think about the boards and committees that are involved with this process. I again was thinking about those folks, and there really isn't anybody that strikes me as wow. I mean, the Concom folks are all very busy. Planning board, obviously, very busy with stuff, and you look down the list. There's nobody who's, I think, looking for new jobs. So it's not obvious to me, but let's advertise and see what happens.
Okay. So, and I think I said I would take that on, but I haven't had time. So, I will do that. Hi, Judith.
Hey, Judith. You're muted. Muted. There she is.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. For some reason, my laptop just basically refuses to link to Zoom anymore.
Wow. That's a good feature, right?
Less work.
Saves you a lot of time. Judith, we were just talking about Kat's resignation, pending resignation, and thinking about any other candidates out there. And I'd said I'd thought about the folks who were involved in the original larger project and thinking about people on various committees. But I think there are some interesting possibilities, but most folks are, you know, really busy and doesn't have a lot of extra bandwidth. So Debbie was talking about advertising some through Vanessa and maybe my Southborough to announce that there's an open position, but no immediate candidates that I'm aware of, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so she has not put in the resignation yet. She said, no, I didn't want to because I didn't want to strand you. So that's Kat thinking of us. So I thought that was very nice. Yeah. So if you have any ideas, I did say that I would take this on last time, but I haven't had time, but I will. I think everything is after town meeting right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, anything else on the vacancies, quorum, advertising?
Nope.
Okay.
Me.
Do we want to move to the next item? Judith, is your computer able to show the new version of the tracker?
I can try. I could try.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you want to just maybe describe, I did have a chance to look at it and I wrote back to you. I know that you worked hard to incorporate some of the changes and updates that, we had discussed, and I think I wrote that I loved it. I loved, there are a couple of things, if you want to just take a couple seconds to maybe describe to us. I know Sam and others are kind of, hoping to wrap this up a little bit early tonight, so we don't have to go line by line. But maybe just talk about what the changes are.
Yeah, sorry. I'm also going to run out of juice on the
Oh, okay.
laptop.
And while you're doing that, then I'll tell you the thing that I really did like, and I thought was very flexible, was in being able to add notes to other people's goal, other affinity groups and goals. Say you're at a meeting and you hear something, you could say, oh, well, I just attended capital planning, and maybe there's an update there. And I think it's nice that we can, try to help each other out like that, because some of, it's a lot of, this committee actually does a lot of work. I want to recognize that, looking at the more closely, at least recently, I've been taking a look at the number of goals and recommendations, and Sam has the lion's share of them. And I wanted to see how others feel about how to, some of the updates, and also being able to add comments and notes in some of the, items where we're all attending these meetings.
Mhm. And I'll throw in also, Debbie, I actually had previously volunteered to go through and take a look at the responsibility assignments, because there are some things in there that I thought needed updating, given where we are now versus when they were originally established some time ago now. And I've done that. I'd be happy to chat about that tonight as well. So,
Debbie, can you give me sharing?
Oh, wow. Let's just see about this. Sorry about that. And I know it's very easy, but I don't remember how to do it. I have to click on your name. Hang on. I can make you a co-host. Do you think that's?
that'll do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks for that. And Judith, while you're doing that, I want to just acknowledge what Sam is saying. I mean, it seemed like so long ago we were thinking, oh, okay, things, I think as a committee really want more than anything that these goals and recommendations are worked on. And so if we came to a point where we could find some efficiencies, I think Sam is saying that there are some changes, especially as we're looking to vote on Public Works Advisory Committee, where the Public Works Planning Board hasn't been working on goals and things like that. Sam, do you want to talk about some of the changes that you came up with? Proposals?
Yeah, sure. Just a second. Let me get to it here. I get my changes are that, for example, as I think about the items, there are things that are referred to the pedestrian and biking committee, which doesn't exist. And so I think we ought to, at least for the foreseeable future, bump those to the select board. Those are the kind of things that I think the select board ought to do. And that's things like in the CT category, there are a couple 3.2, 3.6, and ED category 1.9 is a pedestrian and bike committee. In the sustainability committee, we don't have a sustainability committee. So the NR object or responsibilities, I think, again, ought to go to the select board, because I'm not trying to add new work there, but it seems to me the select board is the one that controls budget and so forth, that can make those things happen. In the NR 3.1 through 3.6, the current one is the facilities department, and I think that should go to the DPW. I actually can't remember what those are off the top of my head, but
Those are the recycling ones.
Recycling, yeah. So, and DPW, our new superintendent, is actually looking at recycling, as a matter of fact. He said he wants to rethink how we do that. So I think that's a natural fit there. And then, as you'd mentioned, the Public Works Planning Board is not yet existing, or is not going to not exist. But I think that several of the things in PS 3.1, 3.2, and 3.3 through 3.5 that are Public Works Planning Board should go to Select Board or EDC for 3.2 for the time being. And then generally, anything else that survived that for the Public Works Planning Board ought to be changed to the Public Works Advisory Committee, which is what that's going to be. And then in ED 2.2, 3, and 4, the Planning Board can plan for things, but the Planning Board, I don't think, has the ability to execute those kind of things. So I would suggest that's a Select Board thing, even though working with the Planning Board. And there are a bunch
Where
of
was that one from?
2.2, 2.3, and 2.4.
Yeah, I have to agree about that. Actually, I think I know that EDC has a couple that they feel that are not theirs, with sort of they're not able to really accomplish.
Yep,
One of
yep.
them is sidewalk. So that must be the 2.2.
EDC can offer planning support for that one, but again, the Select Board and DPW are going to be the ones who, and capital planning are involved in the sidewalk money allocation as well there. So, but again,
Yeah, that doesn't look right. That's Planning Board. I don't know why I would.
drives that.
Okay.
And then
yeah.
there are a bunch of, I would suggest anywhere you've got SHOPSI, you put an asterisk, because the Select Board has talked about reorganizing SHOPSI and the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Committee. And Lisa Braccio, just before she left the Select Board, made what I thought was an interesting recommendation. She thought that those two committees should be combined because they're doing the same thing. SHOPSI does planning, and the Trust Fund Committee actually has the money to get things done, whereas SHOPSI has no money. So, and many towns actually combine that function into one committee and actually have a good track record for getting things done. So the Select Board has talked about that, and I think that's still on the agenda for discussion. But again, no specific plan there yet, but I would maybe flag all the SHOPSI stuff and had a TBD beside it to say that may change. And then,
So we're recording all of this, Debbie, yeah?
Yes. Did I not
So
turn
I
on the
can-
recording last time? I just have to ask you.
No, you did. You did have it. You did return it on. It's when I went to see Jason, he said that for some reason they missed it because every morning they have to do something to
Okay.
take recordings out of Zoom and put them into YouTube,
okay.
and
Yeah.
they missed it. They saw that he found it.
Oh,
But it-
good.
Yeah.
It's very easy to forget, let me tell you. So yes, we are recording.
Okay, so I
And then-
can take all of these suggestions and kind of summarize them because we're going to have to go to the planning board and get them to agree to this.
Right, yeah. Again, suggestions, and I defer to others to make a decision on it. But and then HC 1.4, I'd add the school committee school committees, because we've talked with, as you know, Judith, about the school committee getting more connected with the historical commission, tricentennial stuff, and so forth there. And so I'd get them at least included in the list of responsible groups to give them some ownership there. And that is my list from a pass through the tracker in terms of responsibility. So not huge
Thank you.
changes, but
Yeah.
as we go more, consistency with who actually is likely to do these things, I think helps the probability of getting it done.
I have two comments. One is I think that ED 1.5, which is the National Grid property, I
Yep.
think that's another one that's not that really should be Select Board. Is that correct? That might be
That was EDC.
yeah. Well,
yeah.
yeah, ED 1.5.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, you're right. I missed that one.
Yeah, I think that's been a problematic
Sure.
one for them too, not knowing what to do with
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
And of course, they knew that, there's some action going on.
Well, we are actually talking with National Grid about that. So, but that again, Select Board is doing that. So,
Yeah. Sam, the only one I
But
would say,
But that was, so Debbie, that was a much more general recommendation. The point
That what
about including the
includes,
National Grid parcel was just an add-on. The
Yeah.
principle there was building relationships and working with current owners and potential developers. That wasn't exclusive to the National Grid property.
that's a good
Uh,
point, Jim. I'd forgotten.
Yeah,
But
that's probably why Sam didn't find it. Okay, well, then it's really just the National Grid property piece that's select, I mean,
Yeah,
okay,
and the bulk of that, I agreed with, is EDC. So I didn't remember the language in that one. So
I'm seeing it now too.
Yeah.
Sam, I'm a little ambivalent about the sustainability. I know that we don't have a committee now, but I do think that there's people that want to do things, and so I am a little afraid that that they're not, that they're not going to get done. I was hopeful that the Public Works Advisory Committee might take on some. To be honest, I'm not even sure what the goals are for that committee. I know there were only about 3 of them.
Yep. Well,
Um,
I think that Bill Cundiff sees that group as helping him develop strategies, et cetera, for
mhm.
Public Works Department.
Yeah.
And I think recycling certainly fits in there, but I think sustainability, in my view, is much broader.
Yeah, one of them I thought was a climate action plan, and I mean, that's something, for example, I'd like to, dive into. So I can we kind of think about that one a little
Yeah,
bit more?
again, I'm not prepared to say, it has to be that way. That was my reaction. I don't think there's a lot of pressure not to form new committees these days, even
Yeah.
though we still do that occasionally. So
But is it so? Sorry,
Yeah.
Sam. Who did you say that you thought those should go to? The DPW?
the recycling
Yeah.
stuff, because the current superintendent is looking at that, and I think if we want to get something done, we got to hook on to something that has some momentum, which I think that does now for him, versus trying to create a separate committee to provide
So let
momentum.
me ask a question then, and this is probably my ignorance. Is there anything stopping? So the DPW is a town department, correct?
Right, correct.
It's not a volunteer board. So is there anything stopping the Department of Public Works superintendent putting something out and saying, I'm looking for interested volunteers from the town to work with me on putting together a climate action plan and recycling approach?
Nothing at
anything
all.
stopping
He could
doing
certainly
that?
do that. I think that's pretty unlikely. He's got his hands full with a bunch of holdover problems from the past, so he may get to that point, but he is, I think, pretty overloaded at this point. But he certainly could do something like that.
But is there anything stopping a group of, like Debbie,
No,
a group of interested, enthusiastic residents
nope,
coming together and pulling something together to then say to the select board or whoever, this is what we think we'd like to do?
nope, nothing at all. Anybody could do anything like that they want to devote energy to.
So maybe we use this as a bit of a pilot approach and say, right, we're not going to have a formal committee. We're just going to get some interested people together. That was what and you know what made me think about that was, who was that lovely lady that was on our master plan committee? Sam, the one that had the baby.
Oh, yes, you scared the name out of me.
Shoot,
Oh, yeah.
Gina, Gina. She got together with a group of mums, and the bit of a challenge she faced is she didn't really know how to take it forward, and then she got pregnant and didn't want to take it forward. But she was the one that got people together and just said, right, we're going to come up with some ideas.
Gina Glazomitsky.
That's it.
I got to meet Gina. I think because I came on when she was coming back, and she was a really nice lady.
Yeah.
So good for Gina. So I'm gonna let's hold this one, because I have, I would like to maybe do something in there. And if it's a matter of working with DPW or Public Works Advisory or Select Board or however, or like-minded people getting together, as you say, you know, I'd like to just hold that one. And of course, you know, something might get done because will be tracking these, right? But I just feel like if it goes somewhere, it will never be recognized as really something that, you know, I think is still something we ought to have, understanding that, you know, we're not starting any new committees right now.
Well, and again, Debbie, I think that I think it's a worthy topic, certainly. On the other hand, I think that it is important if you launch on something like that to have some sort of a concept of how it actually gets implemented, actualized, or whatever. And Gina is a good example. She had a great idea for a park down on Liberty Drive where the town owns some property and there's a potential for a playground. And she was working hard to get people behind that and ran into a bit of a buzzsaw in terms of other departments that had different interests in the thing and wasn't able to actually get it through the town government process, which is unfortunate. But again, I think that it's useful to at least think about what the next steps are with that so people don't waste their time, even for good ideas. So for me, at least, that would be an important part of the conversation for that kind of group to say, who do we need to get to support it? You got to find a way to get resources for whatever happens there. If you come up with a plan that says we have to, you know, construct public infrastructure in some ways that costs money, then that's often a crunch point for things. So again, all that sort of next step thinking, I think, could be very useful in terms of potentially successful implementation.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I totally agree. So let's put that one to the side then for now. But I love your list, Sam. And besides, yeah.
Again, not a lot of changes, but as we learn and ongoing efforts here, find things that, oops, this is a little different now than it was when we started, and let's keep it up to date.
Yep, I agree. While we're on this, maybe just check in on what our next date is for a report to the planning board. I know part of this reconfiguration was also to be able to put information into this tracker, make it a little bit easier for everybody. And I just wanted to connect with you guys on what dates are we trying to hit for the next biennial, semi-annual report to the planning board.
Twice a year.
Semi-annual.
I mean, technically that's June, right?
Well, it would be helpful to have the next, so also keeping in mind about the prioritization activity, Sam, which you've been, you know, keeping us involved in, and you know, what do we need to have for that? It would be useful to have this updated before the select board goal setting meeting. And one thing that struck me as I'm hearing it from a couple of people in my affinity groups that, you know, we should be thinking more about the master plan goals. Oh, it's good to hear that. You know, so I just, you know, for example, you know, speaking with Leah Emerson, the EDC coordinator, and she said, you know, we ought to be prioritizing the, you know, the master plan goals. Yes, but which ones, right? So that's, I think, what Sam's been trying to get us to do.
But the select board, Debbie, actually has prioritized goals for the select board's activities, and a number of which are part of the master plan goals, not all of them. But on the other side, I mean, again, the select board technically has never endorsed the master plan to say, you know, these are our goals necessarily. So there's, to me, a bit of a management discontinuity there in the sense that, again, I don't think any select board members would argue that any of these things aren't useful things to do. But given fiscal pressures, you only have so much money, and how do you spend it on things that you think are the higher priority ones, which is the select board has done for the most part. Not the select board goals have not been accomplished either. I mean, I think making good progress on a number of them. And we'll do a revisit of that process, I hope, in June or July this year. But so there's not a perfect overlay there, unfortunately, but I think it's a useful perspective on things. And that's, again, what my hope was that the planning board would say, we think these are things are the most important things from the planning board standpoint, and then compare those two and try to resolve any differences of opinion.
Yeah, well, one thing I'm learning, I agree with you, Sam. One thing I'm learning is that, you know, some of these mandates that are coming around, especially right now, like the MBTA communities that we're working through, it's really a perfect time to, you know, when I sat down with Leah and she invited me to go to their meeting next Wednesday, EDC. I believe they didn't have a quorum last time. She mentioned they'll be meeting next Wednesday. But you know, she said, you know, a lot of these things you know, should be accomplished, you know, some of their goals, for example, like specifically mixed use development. I went to her specifically to say, okay, as we know, the planning board isn't putting forward the warrant articles yet for the MBTA communities, and we have a little more time. That's going to go out in the fall meeting. And, you know, I'd like to hear from EDC on what they're thinking about where would be some good spots, for example, for mixed use development. And so, I mean, I think there could be some conversations and, you know, that might, for example, because of what's happening through MBTA communities, they might be thinking like, well, there could be some momentum there and, you know, they can drop into planning board hearing when we open back up, or just drop in and have a discussion with us about what they're thinking about that. I
Sure.
think there maybe they're looking at putting that question into one of the grants or something like that as well. And I don't know about the timing on that.
Yeah, well,
So
again, the more cross-fertilization we can get on this stuff, I think the better. So
yeah,
good
I do too.
conversation to have.
Yes. Okay. So I know for homework, I have some updates and I need to go in and update the tracker. Judith, so this tracker, it's just called 2.0 in the shared drive. Let's see, version 2.
It, it's version 2. It's at the very top of the, let me say, hang on a sec. It's the very top of the tracker.
Okay.
Hang on. Come on.
And I think you had sent a link out to,
Yeah.
in
So
your note.
it's this Excel here, version 2. Master plan objectives, goals, and recommendations tracker, version
Okay.
2.
Yep.
Yeah. Good. Thank you. Okay, does anybody else have anything? I guess, Sam, do you have your short list? Maybe
Yeah.
Judith got everything or not, but do you want to send it over to her by email
Yeah,
or?
I'll send it. I'll send it to Judith. I liked your tracker displays, Debbie. I thought those were pretty interesting in terms of tracking
Okay.
all
That
stuff.
was something I wanted to talk to you about for our next meeting. So so I guess I will tell you, when it came to the end of the year, Sam, and you had more than anybody, of course, you had your hand on where the different committees were with, you know, making progress, some progress, good progress, right? And you were using those sorts of words.
Mhm.
And it occurred to me, I didn't really have that same grasp in my affinity group. And
My view,
but
Debbie, wasn't perfect, by the way. That was my estimate based on stuff, but I
yeah.
do talk to a lot of people, and I think it was in the ballpark generally, but it needed
Yeah, it
refinement.
was in the ballpark. There's a couple of things I realized, and I realized it coming in because Kat was giving us some updates and others as well. And other groups were saying, I got a couple of comments that they accomplished some goals. And actually, this committee hasn't acknowledged any goals that have been accomplished besides the ones, you know, that were accomplished when the master plan was put out. So that is something that I'd like to do next time. I think that there are some goals that are accomplished. For example, the planning board just voted to accept the updated GIS map at our last meeting. And so it had one little tiny change, so it as amended, but that's a goal that is going to be completed. I can't remember which one it
Good.
is.
Yeah.
But there are other ones that are, and I think that they should be acknowledged. But I guess my point was, it occurred to me there are some goals that are written in a way where they're more like educational goals. I think Judith, you and I might have spoken about this. Educate the children on the history of Southborough, or educate the public on native pollinators and their importance. And I read it as something different, I think. And this is something where I think that we have to maybe think about, what does it mean to complete a goal? If you give an educational session at the library, is the goal completed? Or is the goal to set up a program where annually or something you will, or frequently, whatever, you will educate the public about the importance of native pollinators or the history of the town or something like that. So I think there are some goals that are, if you look at them, they almost can't ever be accomplished. And I think that maybe we might, think about how can they be accomplished? Maybe it's setting up I'm saying kind of like an annual educational program rather than just a one-time thing. However, so yeah, I had a little bit of help with that, Sam. That is a first step, I think, to taking a look at goals. It's really more like your dashboard, but in a different way of looking at it, I guess. But also there's some subjectivity, like you say. I mean, I
Sure.
think within our affinity groups, we know who hasn't started something. We know who's finished. And then, is it good progress or some progress or something like that? I wanted to propose that we have a working session I'm happy to use your format, Sam, or I know how to update mine.
Yeah. I'm happy to use yours, Debbie. I again was looking for some sort of an overview way
Yeah,
to show people generally, are we making progress or not? And I
yeah.
think that there are a variety of ways to do that, and yours is easier to update than mine, so I'm happy to defer to you on that.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, well, I did get some help from a younger person in my household who does data analytics
Hey,
and
Hey,
pivot tables.
we have no
forced
pride of
volunteer.
ownership here. I'll take
I
help
have to
from
give him some
anybody.
credit.
If they want dinner, they better update the spreadsheet, huh?
Well, and it doesn't look good unless you put actual data in it. That's the one other thing that I realized. So I think that's also really important. It's not exactly going to get us to prioritization, but for me, it's a step in understanding what's going on, which I realized at the end of the year when we're kind of trying to summarize things. I felt like I couldn't really put a grasp on what was going on. So
But I
this
think that's, again, a critical communication device, Debbie. I think that people generally need to understand that there's actually a lot happening in
Yep.
town and in many very helpful, productive areas. And yes, we don't have, 100% completion on all 200 plus implementation steps. On the other hand, I think there's an awful lot of them that are at least in process here. And so
Yeah.
I think that's worth explaining to people and showing that a lot of people, and it's not just this committee certainly, but a lot of committees and other volunteers out there are actually doing a lot of good work across a broad range of issues.
Yeah. And what's published in the warrant, what will be published with the the activity of the different committees and stuff to me, it was almost overwhelming. I couldn't believe how much was going on, and I didn't think we were capturing it exactly. I mean, at least in my groups, we're sort of like complaining about the goals and how to start and not having a quorum and all these different things. And then when seeing your list come in and then seeing some of the other things that came around with the 2023 accomplishments, I realized, oh gosh, we have to, some of these are master plan goals and we should be capturing it. So what I was thinking,
published in the warrant. Now, this isn't published in the warrant. It may be in the town
For
annual
the
report.
town meeting.
oh, in the town annual
It's
report.
the
Annual
annual,
report,
it's
yeah.
the annual
yeah.
town update, yeah.
Is that
the
going to be
warrant.
made available at the
They always work to
meeting?
get that published in time for town meeting. I haven't seen it myself, but
Okay.
it is in the works certainly, because everybody had to have their reports in by the end of the year, roughly.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, there's certainly a lot.
yeah.
Okay, so I was gonna, if you don't mind, if we skip, then the next meeting we have, I'd like to start filling that out a little bit more and going, I for example put in my committees and a couple things that maybe I'd gotten from Kat or something like that.
Yep.
But I thought that we could maybe have a live meeting and sort of just run down and, it's really the completion status.
Yeah.
I think we, as we said, we know if they started or finished, and then it's really just, I think I can, 5 categories.
Yep.
Is it good progress or some progress
Yep.
or not started or something?
Yep.
So maybe when we get to that point, we can come up with a date that we can just like meet at the townhouse, post the meeting, and just have a working session and just
Yeah.
run down that list. Because it will, the data analytics will look better and we'll get
Yeah.
actually maybe somewhat accurate.
It's good to try and do that in person. My April is
Person.
looking pretty good right now.
Your availability is good, did you say?
Yeah, mainly because Keith is meant to be finishing his big hiking project, so and hopefully our kitchen will be remodeled by then. So I'm just surrounded by boxes and new appliances and
Wow.
things right now. I know.
So we'll take
Exciting.
advantage of him being out of the house and the boxes you'll want to get out of your house. Yes, so maybe we can move to the next item. I think we have, if we're done, are we done with this one or do we still want to talk about this?
I think so.
Yeah, okay, let's approve the minutes. How about that? Did anybody have any comments for you, Judith, on the minutes?
Look good to me.
Look good to me.
Thank you.
Thanks, Will. Looked good to me too. So, let's see, can I have how do I do this?
I move to approve the minutes as presented.
I second.
Okay, good. From February 8th, that's why I was looking for the date, February 8th, 2024.
Yes.
All in favor, Demuria, aye?
Stivers, aye.
Warren, I.
What's the name?
Okay, thank you. And so for the next one, any future business, I do think we'll call it the dashboard and looking for a date that we can get together. Is during the day a possibility, or do we want to stick with this time slot?
With some advance notice, I can arrange for most stuff. I mean, better for me for in the morning or mid to late afternoon, typically. But again,
During the day is fine for me.
Yeah, that works
Okay.
for me. Wednesday's not so good during the day, but Tuesdays are
Tuesdays are
good.
not great for me generally.
How's like Friday morning or I'm
Uh,
in flux and working with different clients right now in my consulting, so I don't know what they have I don't know what their schedules are, so I'm open.
Friday mornings are not as good as Friday afternoons for me.
So which one's better for you? Friday?
Friday afternoons are better than Friday mornings.
Okay, I
And
can do that.
Tuesdays are not good, but
Friday afternoon is fine for me as well.
Yeah.
Yep, me too. It's definitely got to be after town meeting, I think, otherwise we'll all go mad. So looking at Fridays, Friday, where are we? We're on the 14th. Would we want to try to do it in like a couple of weeks? Like the 29th or into April?
into April for me at least.
Yeah.
Into April, okay, let's just look
What
at the
about the
calendar.
5th?
Yep, I'm good the 5th. How about you guys? Friday, April 5th at like, what, 3, 2?
That would be fine.
Yep. Maybe 2.
2? I'm gonna write this down since it's not our usual time. Friday, April 5th. You good with that, Judith, too?
Yeah, I'm just making myself a note.
Yeah, that's an odd one at 2 p.m. And the agenda would really just be to update the goal status. I can move, Sam, the Excel spreadsheet. I can move it into the shared drive if anybody wants to work on that copy or something like
Sure.
that, or we can just plan to get together and do it like live. So it's
It'd be good if you could put it in shared drive. I could look at it some more.
okay. Is there any special trick, Judith? I know you, with it moving an Excel spreadsheet in, do things get messed up or is it all okay?
No, it should be all right.
Okay, all right. So, okay, good. So I think that's our first step to really understanding goals and
So you'll
progress.
post a meeting for that date, Debbie?
I will. Yeah,
Small possible wrinkle, townhouse staff usually packs up at noon on Fridays.
Yeah.
Usually town clerk is around, so that building's open. I actually have a key. I'll try to remember to bring it with me so we can get in if the door is locked.
okay. There's always the picnic table out front.
Yeah. Or if you want, we could have it in the clubhouse in where I live.
I think it has to be in a, does it have to be in a town
No,
building?
no. Don't think so. We've done it at Judas Clubhouse before, actually.
Oh,
Yeah, we met there before. We met there on the master. Yeah, you can. do that,
It is
Debbie.
a public meeting, so you might just double check with Jim Haggerty about that.
Mm.
But
okay.
as long as it's open to anybody from the public who wants to join, I don't think we're likely to get 500 people overcrowding Judas Clubhouse.
Yeah.
We should
Um,
Just
charge
tell them they
admission.
have to bring, I will, well, wherever we do it, I will provide snacks.
Oh, good.
Okay, that'll be fun.
Non-nutritious, I hope.
What?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't do nutritious snacks.
Good. Good.
All right, so that's what I was thinking for our next meeting. So we're looking at Friday, April 5th, 2 p.m. We'll see if we can, if it's Clubhouse. Do you guys have other topics that you'd like to bring up or future topics?
No,
No, I think that's
Not for
great,
me.
Debbie. Thank you.
Okay,
Only beating the bushes for other volunteers. So anybody got any ideas on that? Let's keep thinking about it and finding.
I
And
think
Yeah,
it's more effective to beat the potential volunteers.
that sounds like a great idea. Into submission until they
Right.
until they become volunteer. Beat
You will
non-volunteers till they
volunteer.
turn into volunteers. And if you really beat them hard, they become enthusiastic volunteers.
yeah.
I've learned.
It's true though, isn't it?
Exactly.
Okay, how about, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So
Short
moved.
meeting.
So
Second,
moved.
Will is the second. Okay, motion to adjourn and second. Any discussion?
None.
Demiria, aye.
Stiver's eye.
Warren, I.
Watson, I.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you,
Thanks so
guys.
much.
See you around.
See you.
Bye.
Enjoy this amazing weather.
Yeah.
Yeah, crazy.